everyone, it's Justine and welcome to a new card tutorial. Today we're going to be creating 5 different cards using the new release from My Favorite Things. I'm also celebrating My Favorite Things because today marks their biggest sale of the year, and I will have details below in the video description as well as on my blog. So I'm going to be using these new June release products. They all coordinate together. There is a Moroccan Mosaic die, stencil, and background stamp available, and they all have a very similar pattern, just in different sizes. So let's get started creating all the different types of cards. I'm also going to be using the sentiment stamp, You Wow Me. This has a variety of sentiments for different occasions, and it has a coordinating die that says wow as well. They have sentiments like wow, it's your birthday, or wow, you sparkle. So to get started, I am going to be die cutting the Moroccan Mosaic die. I'm going to die cut it 4 times in black and 1 time in white using my Gemini Junior die cutting machine. This is a very intricate die, so I like to use my electronic die cutting machine for this because it really just cuts like butter. For the white one, I am going to hold it down in a specific spot because I want to use the outside of it as a frame as well as the inside of it for a card, so I can get a 2-for-1 card. If you have any issues getting out the little pieces of your intricate die, I would suggest the Spellbinders Tool-in-One. This has some sharp bristles on the side that won't tear your die, but it gets in all those nooks and crannies and really makes it easy to get all those intricate pieces off. I used to avoid intricate dies before I found this tool. It also has a pick on the other side that will help you get any areas out of your dies. So you can see I have all the dies cut now, again 4 in black and 1 in white, and I have this frame that I'm going to be layering later with a black die. So to get started, I am going to grab a card panel that measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to arrange the black die cuts on here. This is going to be a really elegant black and white card. So I just simply glued those by adding little dots everywhere using Tombow Mono liquid adhesive, and I'm grabbing my mini snip scissors and I'm just cutting along the edge of my card panel here so that everything just is very clean and in a rectangle. After you finish cutting everything off, you're going to see if everything had been glued down properly, and if you need to add any other areas or need to glue anything down, now is a good time to do it. So for example, there wasn't enough glue here on this corner, so I'm just going in with my adhesive and adding that down. So now I have this absolutely gorgeous background with these intricate dies on them in a black and white pattern. All of the sentiments I'm going to be doing at the very end of this video tutorial. So remember that white die cut that I had cut out earlier? I'm now going to use some blending tools and some Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to ink up in various colors. Because the areas are so thin, you don't have to worry about getting any harsh lines. You can just go directly on the die cut. I'm using 4 colors: Squeezed Lemonade, Carved Pumpkin, Wilted Violet, and Abandoned Coral. I use this color pattern throughout this video for each one of the cards, just to keep things very simple and coordinative. So now I have this beautiful die cut here that I'm going to add to my second card panel, again measuring 4 by 5 1/4. So now I have 2 card panels made and I'm ready to move on to the third one. In order to let the glue sit, I'm going to add a large block to sit on top of it for weight, just so I don't get my hands full of adhesive. For the next one, I'm going to be using the background stamp. I'm going to grab a piece of purple tape and I'm going to mask off half of the stamp. I only want to stamp half of the stamp, so this is going to help me keep things nice and clean with a nice straight edge. I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp exactly like I had done earlier, with the same 4 colors: Squeezed Lemonade, Carved Pumpkin, Abandoned Coral, and Wilted Violet. You'll notice that I start from the lightest color and work my way down because I don't want to muddy up the ink pads themselves. So I start off with yellow, move on to orange, the coral, and then the wilted violet. If you want a perfectly stamped image, I would suggest using a MISTI stamping tool. However, I'm looking for more of a vintage look on this one. I want there to be little white spots, so I'm not too concerned if I don't get a perfect impression at this point in time. So I'm going to line up my card panel where that line ends, where I had the masking tape. I'm just going to run my fingers over the back of it to make sure that it stamps properly. And when I lift it up, you'll see that I have a multicolored stamped image that is partially stamped on my cardstock. So let's move on to background 4. So for this one, I wanted to stamp as well, but this time I created sort of quadrants. So I divided my stamp into 4 visually and added my 4 colors, the exact same ones I used before. And I'm just inking it up all over. And then I'm going to put my cardstock on top. I'm going to grab a piece of computer paper so I can protect my hands, run my fingers all over it to stamp the image, and when I lift it up, I am going to have a beautifully stamped image all over the background. All right, moving on to my next background, which is done with a stencil. I'm going to secure my stencil using purple tape. What I like to do first is I like to secure the stencil to the paper first, and then the stencil to my surface so that nothing moves. So I'm going to tape it from the back here so it doesn't affect my image at all, and then I'm going to tape it down to my surface. So using the same color formula as before, this time I am blending on an angle. So I'm going in a diagonal pattern and started off with squeezed lemonade. And then I went off with the carved pumpkin. So I always like to keep the color the previous color handy because I find it's always necessary to go back in and just reblend those colors using the lighter color. And then when I'm finished with the orange, for example, I will put the yellow away, but I'm still going to leave the orange out as I'm doing the abandoned coral because I'm going to have to go back in with a little orange as well just to even out those lines. So now when I'm finished the abandoned coral, I can put the carved pumpkin away and then I can continue on with wilted violet. So that's how I like to make sure my colors are nicely blended. And I'm going to get a really fun background from the stencil. So the stencil and the stamp are very similar in size, and you'll notice when I put them side by side, in one of them you get the image with the whites, and then the other one you get the image with the color. So it's like an opposite image effect. So for my next one, I am moving on now. I am going to just simply mask off the edges of my card. So I always work generally on card panels, so you can see that I have the card panel there with the frame. But I want to create some inked background effect here, and I want to make sure that the white frame that's going to be around my card at the end stays white. It doesn't get full of ink. So that is a very signature look for me, having a white frame around my card. It's almost like framing my artwork, and I just feel like it doesn't look complete until that happens. So I'm just protecting my area by using purple tape. So for this last panel here, I am simply doing the exact same thing I had done in the previous card, minus the stencil, of course. And this one is also going to end up using the die cut that I had cut out at the beginning of the video. So I'm creating this background here so that it really pops out against the black die. I find when you have these really vibrant Distress Oxide colors, adding black cardstock to them just really makes them stand out even more. What I also love about creating a background that's going to go behind a die is nothing needs to be perfect. So I can put in all these harsh lines like I just did, and you're not even going to notice them when the die cut comes down because it's going to break up the image in so many ways, and it's also going to be distracted by the fact that there's this black frame over top of it. So I'm just going to remove all of the masking tape. I now have my white frame around the area, and then I can go ahead and glue my frame onto the cardstock itself and add the black die to it. So when you're gluing intricate dies, there are several ways that you can do it. So for example, there's stick-it paper that's available that you have to add to it before you die cut it, so you have to remember, and then you just peel it off and it becomes adhesive back to your dies. So that's a really cool way, but it can get a little bit expensive if you do it for all your dies. What I like to use is a liquid glue, and I kind of just move the bottle back and forth really quickly so that not a lot of glue gets on the area. And I find the glue generally sticks only to the areas that have thicker spaces. You might get a little bit of glue residue that comes out of the sides, but I find it's very, very minimal. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this then to my cardstock now. And you can see just how gorgeous that colorful background and that die really make everything just pop. It's really, I think, my favorite card out of the bunch. Here's a look at all the backgrounds we just created. The only thing I've done is I've added them to card bases. So they're now on to the foldable card base that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So they have that frame around all of them. I'm now going in with the You Wow Me stamp set that has so many different sentiments on it. And I'm going to pick and choose several sentiments, and I'm going to be die cutting them using this Fishtail die set. And I love MFT for the fact that they use a very similar font for all of their sentiment stamps, and the 99% of them fit within one of these frames perfectly. So some of them might be a little bit longer than others when you put them on, or shorter. It's completely up to you how close you want the sentiment to be. I find having these 4 different banners really just gives you a good variety for each of their stamps, so you can see how they all sort of coordinate. So that's why when I stamp them all at once for all of my cards with black ink, I'm spacing them out quite a bit because I am going to be die cutting them with those fishtail dies, so I know that they need a little bit of space in between. I am using MFT Extreme black ink for this. This is a really great intricate ink that's going to stamp your sentiments really well, and it's also Copic marker friendly if you're interested. So now I've gone ahead and I've attached all of these fishtail dies to them with some purple tape, and I'm going to die cut them off screen. I've also gone ahead and die cut the WOW sentiments in black cardstock. So I didn't add the WOW die cut for all of the cards. I added them to the ones that I felt needed that pop of color. So this "You Did It" is such a small sentiment that I felt like it would have been lost if I didn't add the black WOW to it. So now I have a variety of cards that are all for different occasions, but they all use the same WOW sentiment or the WOW word. So I think that's really fun too. It's a really great set if you wanted to give it away as a gift set or give them individually. It's completely up to you how you want to do it, but I like to give gift sets for birthday presents and things, so this is probably going to be one of them. So now that I've straightened everything with the WOW You Did It, I'm going to show you the rest of the cards that I created with the different sentiments. So I have a simple congratulations that have the black die cut on there. Then I have this one, Let's Celebrate You. And then You're Amazing. I felt these didn't need that pop with the black WOW, so these ones here, Wow, It's Your Birthday, Wow, You Made My Day, and then the one you just saw, Wow, You Did It, are really great examples of those cards. So here's a final look at some of the cards that we created today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to check out the sale going on at MFT. It's the biggest sale of the year, so you don't want to miss it. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I have some suggested videos below. It's an MFT video, of course, if you're interested, and I have the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have an awesome day. Bye!